Nashville's real estate market has hit rock bottom. Here we are, early 2024, early February, and we have not seen this few of transactions in a month in over a decade. It has been 2012 since we have seen this few of transactions in Davidson County, Nashville. So let's jump into what the market's really doing in detail. Talk a little bit about, questions that I would think that you would be thinking about would be, what's my home worth compared to a year ago? What's the market doing now? And what does it mean for me going forward? That's what we're trying to answer here and make the details relevant for you, as well as in what situations does it make sense to buy now? What situations does it make to sell now? Or wait on both of those. So we're going to be talking about all of that right now. Prices generally across the board are essentially up very slightly, call it 3% or less, or neutral in all price ranges and areas. It depends a little bit on county and neighborhood and price range. But generally speaking, year over year, so January 2024 compared to a year ago, essentially neutral when it comes to prices. Again, closings, we have hit rock bottom when it comes to closings. It's been over a decade in Nashville since we have had this few closings. So January 24 is Hug a Realtor month. It is tough out there. So if you see a realtor, give them a hug. It's tough out there. All right. So days on the market is up slightly compared to years gone by. It's still very, very low. So we're talking, 3 weeks being the average days on the market. Height of the pandemic, mid to late 21 to early 22, or even let's just say all of 2021. We're talking like, if you were around, if you were alive, if you have a clue of what's going on, you know what I mean? Things were just rapid fire. You'd put them on the market and they'd be gone within 24 hours, typically multiple offers, well over list price. So compared to those days, it feels like it's a lot longer, but we are getting a little bit closer to what feels like a balanced market. So that's when it comes to days on the market. However, inventory, let's talk about inventory a little bit. It is stable, but it has been trending upward very slightly. It's gone up. It'll come down to, month to month in Davidson and Williamson County and Middle Tennessee. All right. However, we are not yet in any price range. We are not yet at what is historically considered a balanced market, not one that favors buyers or sellers. That would be 6 months of inventory. All right. And real quick for the nerds that want to know what that means, everybody else can tune me out for 10 seconds. 6 months of inventory simply means if no other homes come on the market, it would take 6 months for all of those homes to be purchased. Right now, what we're looking at when it comes to inventory is less than 6 months in all price ranges. It's under 2 months if we're looking at under 500,000 in Davidson and Williamson County, and then really in the higher price point. And this is the case no matter the market. No matter the market. If we're looking at, call it above 1, especially above 2.5 million in Davidson, Williamson County, we're still under 6 months, but we're closer to that 4 to 5 month mark. So in any market, typically what you'll see is that days on the market for the higher end is a little bit longer than what you would see for, call it, closer to your median for the county price point. All right, so we've talked about prices closing, days on the market, inventory. Now let's talk about in what scenario does it make sense to buy now? In what scenario does it make sense to sell now? And then the same thing for waiting. So we've talked about prices. They're essentially neutral. We haven't yet talked about what to expect for the next year. But for the people that are looking at the market and they're going, hey, I want to buy now, can you give me a good reason as to why? One is that you have less competition, simply that you have less competition. So for those, I know that in mid 21, we would have clients that just said, gosh, that just seems too chaotic. I don't even want to deal with the mess, the sort of the perception of it's just too fast. There's too much going on. For those folks right now could be a really good time because you can go take a look at a property sometimes. you can go take a look at a property, and then you might be able to sleep on it and think about it, and might even be able to go back and look at it 2 days later. In all of 21, that just didn't happen. You didn't have the luxury of sleeping on any decision. And so for those that want to take a slower pace of making a home purchase, now could be a really good opportunity for that. The other reason is Fed rates, all right? So the Fed has said that they are not cutting rates, nor do they expect to raise rates in March next month. They have said that they expect to lower rates at least a couple of times, if not 3 times, by the end of the year. If you think about, Nashville has hit rock bottom when it comes to number of transactions per month, which means, are we consumers sensitive to mortgage rate pricing? Absolutely. Have mortgage rates been the cause for hitting rock bottom in Nashville when it comes to transactions? Absolutely. So are we sensitive? Yes. So if rates go down, what do you think is going to happen for buyers that are sitting on the fence, or maybe they just can't do anything right now because of interest rates? If they go down by 0.5% or 1% or even more, what do you think that is going to happen to the buyers in the market? What do you think that's going to happen to transactions? It's just pretty logical. Things are going to amp up, and there's going to be a lot more competition. So it's reasonable to think that the Fed rate and therefore mortgage rates have hit a ceiling, that they're likely to come down. And so a good reason could be the whole comment of date the rate, marry the house, date the rate. I've never liked that. There is some truth to it, which is why it sort of gets some like momentum behind it. I've never said it. I don't like it. I think real estate is situational. I think it's long term. However, now I feel like we are at a place where you can very reasonably say, what is the probability that if I lock in a rate now, I can refi in a year and it makes sense? There's no guarantees, but I think it's pretty high. All right. So that's another consideration for why you would buy now. Another consideration would be if you have cash. All right. So in 21, if you have multiple offers, and I mean 4, 5, 6, 10 offers on a property, from the seller's perspective, as the value of a buyer bringing cash is pretty low, because if I'm under contract and financing falls through, I've got 9 people lined up that I can quickly put back in that place. So it's not that cash doesn't mean anything in that situation. It might be a little bit of a tiebreaker, maybe. But if you don't have cash, there are things that you can do to compete with a cash offer. So in 2021, cash doesn't mean a whole lot. Well, here we are, February 2024, and cash means a lot more than it did in the past. So if you're a cash buyer, now could make sense to buy, because you are going to look that much better compared to if there's competition. You're going to look a lot better. And if you're the only one, you're certainly going to look very good. So those are 3 reasons why it could make sense to buy now. Why might it make sense to wait to buy? Number 1 is it always feels safer to not take action. It always feels safer to not take action. History would say that that's not the case, and that I have found in my own experience with whether it's investing or whatever with real estate, is that oftentimes doing counter of what I feel is safe is actually the thing that with time proves to be the thing that sort of catapults me and gives me momentum when it comes to real estate values. So one reason to wait, though, would be if you just can't stomach your perceived risk of the market, then if you can't sleep at night, it's not worth it. Another reason would be that you just want to wait to see what prices do. If you think that I don't think that prices are going to go down I don't think waiting for prices to go down is a reason to wait to buy, because I don't think that prices are going to go down in any meaningful way that it that it justifies the wait. But I understand that if that's where you're at and you're thinking, man, I just can't, I just have to see enough news that tells me that prices are trending upward and I'm okay with that, that might be a reason to wait. Another reason would be simply affordability. If, for every 1% interest rate change, it changes your mortgage rate by about 10%. So if you're like, man, the house that I would want to move to, I just simply can't afford. And if rates went down by 1 to 2%, and therefore my affordability went up by 10 to 20%, I could get that home. That would also be a very good reason to potentially just wait. All right. So let's transition to selling. For those that have a home to sell and you are thinking about getting more space for, your growing family or into a different school system, and you're thinking about selling, you're thinking, hey, do I sell now? Do I sell in the spring? Do I wait until next year? When do I sell? Let's talk about reasons why you might sell now. One would be if you're moving up. So let's just pretend that if right now you're taking, you're not getting as much for your home as you will in a year, it could make sense to go ahead and move, because if you're moving up and let's say you are, let's say the difference in price is $400,000, maybe even more than that. If you are getting less now than you will in a year, the home that you're buying, you're also paying a little bit less than you will in a year. So that is a situation where it could make sense to sell now if it enables you to buy now also, if that makes sense. Also would be if you have a home sale contingency. So if you're the kind of seller that is very common where you can't buy the next home unless you sell your existing home, and buying the next home is contingent on that happening for reasons that we've already talked about, right now could be a really good reason to sell, because there's not a lot of competition, and therefore sellers that you're negotiating with are going to be more likely to accept a home sale contingency, where as if rates begin to go down as they are expected to and more buyers come in the market, there's more competition. Those buyers that you're competing with that don't have a home sale contingency, in my experience, 9 times out of 10, it is the rule. I'm sure there are exceptions. You are just not going to be able to get something under contract if you're competing against somebody that doesn't have a home sale contingency. So that could be a really good reason to sell now. It's just the market allows for that scenario. Why would you wait? A good reason to wait would be that right now the market in February 2024, again, we've hit rock bottom when it comes to transactions, and things feel a little bit volatile in terms of predictability, in my opinion, of when you put a home on the market. I feel like if anybody out there said, hey, what is the winning formula? It's the same. It's prepare the home properly, stage it to look top notch, price it slightly under the market so that you're not sitting on the market and buyer perception changes over time, but people begin to wonder what's wrong with this property. Right now, things feel a little bit less predictable. And so the winning formula is what I just said, no matter the market. And yet, in this market, it feels like the ability to really predict that, hey, this is going to produce what we expect it to is less than what it has been in the past. And I'm not even talking about, I'm talking about pre-pandemic. If you follow that formula, the consequence of that is typically positive and is much more predictable. So a reason to wait could be, hey, let me wait until transactions go up, where things feel a little bit more normal in terms of number of transactions, so that I sort of have a higher level of confidence that if I go through this process, I'm going to get the home sold. That could be a reason. The other reason would be, again, like I mentioned before, and that is just a price bump. Okay, we've talked about my expectation is that a year from now, prices are probably going to be up anywhere from 2 to 5%. And so a reason to wait to sell could be that you experience that appreciation in home values. The other thing, another reason that you might wait to sell is that if you don't need a home sale contingency. So if you kind of the other side of the coin of the reason to buy now, if you have a home sale contingency, would be a reason to wait to sell, would be if you won't need a home sale. If you're not worried about that, you're not trying to take advantage of the sort of climate of the market right now, then it could make sense to wait for that reason. So there you go. That is the market. We've talked about reasons to buy, sell, or wait. This has been the January 2024 Nashville real estate market. Things have hit rock bottom. So appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe. If there's anything that you have questions about, leave them in the comments below. If there's anything we can help you with, feel free to check us out online. We've got over 300 5-star Google reviews. We've sold over 1,000 homes and over $500 million in home sales, and we'd love to put our experience to work for you. So reach out wherever you're watching this, and thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.